All right, the fifth question he has asking me is who is Tommy Turtle? Well, Tommy Turtle is how do I put this? Tommy Turtle was basically a character I think Ken Penders had written about. I'm not really sure, but Ken Penders had basically written this character. Excuse me. Um, I guess he was sort of an expendable character. I don't know. He just wrote him in a way that he became sort of a he became part of the Brain Trust team him at first, and then later on, I don't know how it happened, but I guess he disappeared into obscurity or something. That Robotnik Eggman, if you will, caused him to disappear into obscurity, or be thought by many to be dead. Basically, Tommy was I don't know how to say this. I have to look back on the history of it, but Tommy was basically captured by Robotnik, replaced by an animatronic, who attempted and succeeded but failed to kill Sonic, but in the succeeded, failed. Basically, what this animatronic that Tommy tried to do was kill Sonic in his sleep, but Jules, who's still roboticized, caught it happening, and and this animatronic ended up killing Sonic's father. However, thanks to the power of a power ring, Sonic was able to restore his father to life. But anyway, uh, Tommy Turtle was basically a character that, um, like I said, was one of those characters. Basically, he was a character that that the fan base just did not like. Didn't know why he was there, but he did play a major role later on. There was this character, a computerized character called Adam, that Robotnik had created, or Eggman had created, during I guess Sonic's absence from the Earth or something like that. And Adam basically was trying to do a coup up against Robotnik, and Robotnik was considered the father of Adam here. So basically, Adam tried to do a coup up, and he needed a lot of it. He needed the right ingredients, if you will, to do it. So basically, Adam downloaded himself into all these nanites, if you will, all these nanites that Robotnik had made, and basically they had attached themselves to Tommy and had worked their way into the knothole and all that. And okay, overall, to make this long and short, basically Tommy Turtle was affected by Adam and the nanites. So Adam basically had downloaded himself into the nanites, and when Robotnik thought he had shut Adam down, Adam surprised him by showing up in a corrupted nanite obsessed Tommy Turtle, basically. And basically, Tommy had to sacrifice himself not only to uh, save Sonic and his friends, but to also save himself. Basically, well, Sonic Fan Table, you'll have to read it. You'll have to look it up online on Mobius Wikipedia, Encyclopedia.com, Mobius Encyclopedia. You can find it. You can Google it. But basically, Tommy Turtle had to sacrifice himself to save his friends. So that's who Tommy Turtle is. He's just one of those characters that was there for a while, not really a big time character except for the major stories. And he was killed off in an issue by sacrificing himself. So that's the best I can answer there. All right, the next question he has me ask, SonicFanTable1 is asking me, is who is Dimitri? Well, Dimitri, believe it or not, is a descendant, or sort of a relative, if you will, of Knuckles, a very distant relative. He is the grandfather of Lena Da, and believe it or not, the step grandfather, if you will, of Julie Sue. Basically, Dimitri was originally Urajak, was originally Urajak in the Knuckles comics. But I guess because he had used so much chaos energy or something that he had done, he had basically damaged his body to the point that right now he's nothing more than a floating head in a bubble. But if you read current issues, he's actually put into storage by Lena Da because Lena Da wanted to be Grandmaster, and she became Grandmaster. But we found out she became Grandmaster with a price in 211. So, but basically, Dimitri, in a way, is the original Grandmaster of the Dark Egg Legion that we know of. And he made a deal with Robotnik, and Robotnik built him this body. I guess it didn't work out so well, but of course, and I think basically Dimitri is the kind of villain, if you will, that's sort of really not much of a villain, but wants to kind of make better life for the Echidna people. So that's who Dimitri is, basically. And if you want to look more up, look it up at MobiusEncyclopedia.com. All right, the next question he wants me to answer, that he asked, is how did Sally and Sonic break up? Oh boy. SonicFanTable1, you really know how to ask a question there. Basically, what happened is that earlier I mentioned in one of the questions that Sonic had spent some time in space. Basically, what happened is that Sonic seemingly sacrificed himself in 125 to stop this quantum dial that the Zordad, this alien race, planted on Mobius. Basically, Sonic had seemingly sacrificed himself in destroying the Chronom Dial. But what actually happened is Sonic ended up being thrown 85 billion light years away into another universe. Now, after a few issues and all that, Sonic did work his way back to Mobius and reunited with Sally. But what Sonic didn't realize is he thought he was he had been in space for a couple of weeks, right? But instead, he had been away from Mobius. I mean, to him, it may have been like a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of days he'd been in space and all that. But as soon as he ended up back on Mobius, he found out that a whole year had passed since the incident. A whole year. And so basically, what happened is that Robotnik, Eggman, if you will, discovered that Sonic was alive, and put together this triple threat. Basically, he put basically it was known as a triple threat. You had three different areas he was attacking, or he was going to do something with, and Sonic happened to be in one of the areas where Robotnik was. So what happened is that Sonic ended up attacking Robotnik, and ended up being a part of this. And Sally was watching it on a monitor back in Knothole, believe it or not. She was actually watching it on a monitor back in Knothole, and she saw Sonic getting injured and getting shot in the arm and all that, and it upset her. It kind of traumatized her. So, but anyway, after Sonic and the others came back victorious, they had this big celebration, and Sonic found out that Sally was going to be left in charge where her parents went out on a world tour. I guess to promote peace or something, or to get allies or something like that. And Sally announced in front of the whole world, asked Sonic she basically asked Sonic in front of the whole world that she wanted Sonic to stay by his side, or stay by her side, basically rule beside her while her parents were gone. And Sonic, of course, being Sonic, did not want to do this because he felt he was needed in the war. And Sally tried everything she could to convince him he's not needed. She doesn't want him to fight anymore. So basically, overall what happened is Sonic said he couldn't do it. And Sally ended up slapping him and thus cutting off the engagement. Now, things have come full circle, if you will. Things have kind of settled back to normal. They're back on friendship terms. There was one issue, I can't think of the issue right now, where they almost kissed. So there is still an attraction there. But anyway, that's how Sally and Sonic broke up. And there are signs they might be getting back together, even though Ian Flynn right now currently has Sally flirting and hanging with Monkey Kong. and possibly is teasing a whole Amy Sonic deal. But I think we all know if we're Sonic Sally supporters, what's the end result going to be unless he throws a curveball. But anyway, to answer your question, that's how Sally and Sonic broke up.